Thank you so much for joining us on the weTHRIVE podcast, where we share stories from entrepreneurs around the nation about how they're impacting others and creating a legacy. So I'm your host, Casey Clark, and I'm also the founder and chief growth officer of C. Clark Consulting. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing my dear friend, Michelle Bell, who is an attorney here in Maryland. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. So tell us a little bit about you.
Whew, that's a loaded question. So I am wife. Oh gosh, April 7th will be 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that's what I said too. Wow, like I made it. I have 3 children, 22, 13, and 12. Let me see. I'm a big sports fan. I am a Brooklyn girl through and through. I understand that I live in Maryland, but you cannot take the Brooklyn out of me.
So do you like all New York teams?
Absolutely. My husband loves all DC teams. So the house is divided in every sport possible.
He's not a what is it? A Commanders fan?
He is.
Oh, okay. That's
I
a whole
know.
different conversation.
I know. When the Giants play them, we can't be in the same room.
Oh, wow. That much of a sports fan, huh?
We can't be in the same room. We have to be separate. If we go to games, basketball, baseball, hockey, anything, my jersey is always the New York team. He's the DC team, so we just walk in already rivals.
Oh, wow. Too funny. So what about your kids? I know we're going down the rabbit hole.
I know. My daughter, the 22-year-old, she is a DC team person. The youngest one, same thing. The 13-year-old, though, he is the most wishy-washy person in history. Dude switches teams every year, every season. The only thing that stays consistent is his favorite players. That's it.
Okay, well, at least he has something there.
So I lost that battle a long time ago.
Oh, wow. Too funny. So, how did you get into being an attorney? I mean, I can see the competitiveness, but how did you get into being an attorney?
Crazy enough, fourth grade, they always ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said an attorney. And that was it. So I know this is telling my age. My mom used to watch Matlock. Some people may know
Okay.
what that show is. Some people may not. You can look it up. But she used to watch Matlock every day. Every day. She
Wow.
was a teacher, so she would get out of school before me. So by the time I got home from school, she watched Matlock all the time, and I would watch it with her. And then I was like, you know what? That looks like fun. And so I decided in fourth grade that I'd be an attorney, and I stuck with it and became one. So it wasn't always fun, but it's fun now.
Yeah, that's good. So, if memory serves me, you started in litigation?
Yeah. So yes, I started in healthcare litigation. I was that person who would go against, the government agencies.
Okay.
So
That's
that's where I
so
started.
fun.
I mean, litigation, you got to be competitive. You just have to have that extra, but it does take some things out of you. So
Yeah.
after a while, you just like, oh, okay, the kids I didn't want to miss out on a lot of things that the kids were doing. Events, like I said, we're big sports people, so the kids played sports. My daughter did travel cheerleading. It is a sport. Nobody contact me and say it's not. I'm telling you, I have the receipts. I've seen it, and the injuries I've seen this little girl go through. It's a sport. But her with traveling cheerleading, and then the boys travel baseball and basketball. It became, okay, do you want to spend your time prepping and doing litigation, or Do you want to do something else that's really, heartfelt for me, but still allows me to be mom? Because I don't want the kids when they're 20 something years old sitting at the table talking about memories and then I don't have a part in it.
Yeah.
It'll be like, oh yeah, mom, you were working, or you were in the office, or you were preparing for court. I didn't want that.
Yeah. So you bring up a great point. It sounds to me like part of thriving to you is kind of that work-life balance. But I don't want to steal your thunder. So tell me what thriving means to you.
That's really what it is. That work-life balance. Plus, I didn't like having to ask someone if I could take a day off and then have to wait for their answer.
We're so alike.
That's a problem for me.
You and me both.
And then I have to wait for your answer. And what if your answer is no? So now I'm looking like, so do I just call in sick anyway? Or it just makes everyone mad?
Oh my. So aside from not being the best employee, what are some
Right?
other obstacles that you faced that kind of were preventing you from thriving?
Oh my goodness. So a lot of obstacles, I can tell you a few off the top obstacles that I faced. One, the obvious, being a Black female, I have covered cases for other attorneys. So I think there was one attorney, I covered some of his bankruptcy cases for him because I had to be in that court anyway. So for something else, so you just went upstairs to the bankruptcy court and just handled, what he needed me to handle. And every time, all the attorneys there, and it's a small group of attorneys. I could have been there the day before. I could have been there for 2 days straight, 3 days straight. People would come to me and ask me, am I whatever the debtor's name is? And I'm like, no, that's not me. And they're like, well, do you know who that is? No, I don't. And then it's, well, what case are you here for? So I would say the case, and they're like, okay. I would go check in, and it never fails. I sit in the gallery waiting for the case to be called, and it's always someone tapping me, asking me, am I the debtor? So I would walk up to the attorney table, stand in the attorney spot and, say my name and who I represented and stuff like that. Then it was okay. I would come back the very next day. Same people, same attorneys, same people asking me the exact same questions. And I'm like, wow. In 24 hours, the hair, the face, it didn't change. My clothes did.
That's good.
Yeah, so I would face that. I've faced where males have, and in all races, this one is not based on race, but males would threaten me, you're going up against my uncle, you're going up against this. I had one threatened, he called on the phone and said, I'm going to be there in court and I know what courtroom you're in and I'm coming and I'm going to kick your butt because you're going up against my family member. And, I had to remember who I was because the Brooklyn in me.
I'm an attorney, but let me tell you, don't let Brooklyn come out.
It just did. So I faced that a lot. And it was just like, it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
It is absolutely unnecessary. I'm doing my job. So I face challenges with that. And then also owning my own firm. I didn't do the traditional way, which was you get the summer associates, you go work for the big law firms right after you graduate. And then after 5, 6 or whatever years, if you want to hang out your own shingle, go ahead and do that. I didn't do that.
You're like, let's go all in.
Oh yeah, I jumped off that cliff.
I love
with no plan.
Sometimes you figure it out on the way down.
That's what I said. My husband looking at me like, And I'm like, honey, it'll work out. It'll work out. Trust me.
And it did. So when you were jumping off the cliff,
I know.
what are some of the resources that you use to help you?
Oh my goodness. So my church had, they still have it, legal ministry,
Okay.
and I joined that, and I think I joined legal ministry probably right after. I can't remember if it's right after I graduated. No, it wasn't right after I graduated. It was hmm, might have been when I was studying for the bar. I can't remember. But I joined that. So, that had people who worked in the industry, had other attorneys,
Okay.
and then talking with them and speaking with them, I found out who had their own firm. I spoke to them, would go out, to dinner or lunch and just ask a bunch of questions. I always took with me a legal pad and pen because I was writing down all the notes. They would tell me what organizations to join. I did not like networking at that time. So I would, if I felt comfortable with one or two people, I would just continue talking to them. And if they didn't answer, I just continuously kept texting and emailing because you were going to talk to me one way or another.
I'm not surprised.
I know. But so just joining different groups and being around what I wanted to do. So I knew I wanted to have my own, so I had to do that. And then when I was licensed in DC first. So when I got licensed in DC, they have this class you can take. I think it's own your own practice. I can't remember the title, but it's like something 101. And they give you this big book of resources. And they tell you about office space, insurance, malpractice insurance. I mean, like it really gives you everything. So I did
Wow.
that class. I got the book. I went to the bar, the DC bar, not the liquor bar, the DC bar. No. I went to them for their resources. I'm just saying, some people may not know. And our stuff is called Bar Association, and we just say bar for short. So
Yes.
I literally went through all those resources because I had not a clue. Law school had not taught me how to run a business, how to have my own law firm. It didn't teach me that. It taught me the law and how to apply it and do the logic and the rationalization and all that good stuff, but not how to run a law practice. So between those books and talking with people, networking and trial and error experience, that's pretty much how I learn. And that's why I try to help others. If they're just starting out, not a problem. I'll tell you what I did right, what I did wrong, where you can
Yeah.
find things.
So you made mention that with school, they didn't teach you how to start a business, which I personally find fascinating because I have an MBA and they didn't teach me how to start a business, which speaks volumes. So, what do you think, like, one of the biggest lessons that you had was as you were trying to figure out your way of being not only a new attorney, but a business owner?
Not understanding that business debt is different from personal debt. So
Mhm.
if I was under the impression at the time that they were the same. So I knew I was cash based. So I didn't spend what I didn't have.
Mhm.
So whatever I had in the account, if I had $1,500 in the account, then I made sure my bills were less than that $1,500. But as you go on, you realize you have to have money to expand and to get where you need to be. And there's a
Mhm.
difference between business debt and personal debt. It's okay for the business debt because you need it to run your business. So for me, that was a big lesson because once I realized that and I went and got money that's out there for business owners, it opened up a whole new world for me. And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Hmm, I struggled for like 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
because I kept
Oh,
everything small because, whatever was there, I'm like, okay, this is all I have for this, not knowing that there's money out there. And once you get it and you borrow it, of course you have to pay it back.
mhm.
It opens up like so many additional doors for you, and you can do much more.
Yeah.
So that was a
Oh,
big lesson for me.
yes, you're speaking my language. I love talking about expanding, but we won't go that route. So talk to me a little bit about legacy, because you are an estate attorney, so I already feel like there's so much that comes with that. But when
It is.
you hear legacy, like what does that mean to you?
So legacy to me means more than money. I know most people think first thing is money. It's
Hmm.
way more than money. And my situation could be a little different. So that's why I may look at it that way. But for me, it's the stories, your family stories, your family values, your family morals, like the things you've learned that you want to pass down to other generations. Like I
Hmm.
know for me, starting my own business, my youngest, they are the two. My daughter's the oldest one; she's 22, and then the boys are 12 and 13. So they ask me questions all the time about, what does this mean when you have your own business? How does that work? I see you do this. Why do you do that? Because their dad doesn't have his own business. He works for a company, whereas I have my own. So they see the difference in
Yeah.
how it is. So I'm very open and honest with them. I talk to them about the money aspect of it because I mean, hiding money from kids, I mean, that's a setup. They need to learn how to do that type stuff. We're gonna send
Yeah.
them out in the world, they don't know anything about it. Or the first time they hear about it is from a credit card person or a creditor. That's a setup.
Yeah.
But for me, legacy is just way more than money. It's what you're teaching. I see my daughter when she got her first job outside of me, because I always make me be the first employer of my children. When they turn 14, you will work for me
I
because then
like
I
it.
teach you what you're doing wrong, what you should do,
Okay.
what you should not do. And then after that, she went and worked for Wendy's, but I had to teach her how to interview, how to look, how to dress, how to this, how to that. So I taught her all of that. And then when her friends were interviewing, she would come home and be like, "Mom, these my friends wore jeans and all this other stuff to the interviews." And I said, "I didn't teach you that, and you're not doing that." But they didn't know.
Yeah.
And so she actually would get her friends and be like, "Oh, you're not going to the interview looking like that." And
I
she
love
would go to
it.
the closet and tell them what they're wearing, especially the
Oh, wow.
males. She was like, "You're not going wearing this. No, pull your pants up. You're wearing this, you're wearing that." And when she did that, all her friends, males and females, they actually started coming to her
That's
and then
awesome.
start asking her questions. Like, okay, we would, with her, I would do a dry run with interview questions, like, the typical ones.
Hmm.
And so then she started doing that with her friends. So then they started getting their jobs that they were applying for. So to me, that's a legacy because that's something
Yeah,
that will keep going,
absolutely. I love that.
versus money.
Yeah, it's something you don't even think about, like as simple as like essentially mock interviews. I mean, how far that can spread. I love that.
Absolutely. And don't be on your phone when you walk in someone's house. It's just like,
Now I think we're getting into pet peeves, maybe.
it's just, but those are things I pass down to them. Get your friends. No, they cannot walk in talking on the phone.
Yeah. My sister is 7 years younger than me, and I'll never forget. We were sitting there at Thanksgiving one day, and she was literally had her fork in one hand, her phone in the other, and I grabbed that phone. I said, "I think not." She looked at me, "You're not my mom." I said, "Okay, and you're at my dinner table." Like that is a no-no. You can't do that.
See? And look, that's a story that can go down, it's going to be passed on because I'm sure she's going to tell someone
Yeah.
that
Oh,
story
she
about what
doesn't do
you
it
did.
anymore.
She's going to tell people, watch. So to
Yeah.
me, that's legacy. Like that's stuff you're not going to get everywhere. You have those stories. So it's more than just money.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, speaking of giving people advice, if you
Mhm.
could give someone advice that was either becoming an attorney or starting their own business, what would you tell them?
Take a marketing class.
I'm not paying her. And why would you say that?
Marketing is the biggest thing. Because whether you have your own business or you work for a law firm, you still have to get clients.
Yeah.
You have to get clients, and you got to know how to get them. So obviously working for yourself, getting that client is different than when you work for another firm, but you still have to get clients. I mean, if you work for a big firm, you're not going to always be able to work on someone else's clients. You have to find your own.
Right.
These firms, some of them are sink or swim.
Yeah.
So you have to find those. So in order, whether it's a big firm or yourself, you got to know how to get clients, which means you got to know how to market.
Yeah.
And you got to know how the market is. So if it's, regardless of what area of practice you want to do in law, you have to know, like, say, if you want to go after physicians to be your clients, you can't do the same marketing for them like you would if you want to have mechanics as your clients. You can't do that.
Well,
Physicians, right. They're not always on social media. You may not see them that way. So for me, I take a marketing class. It will help you no matter what it is that you're going to do, whether it's a big firm, a medium-sized firm, a small firm, your own firm. You got to know how to market yourself, set yourself apart from people, and get your clients.
Yeah. Well, speaking of setting yourself apart, I'd like to give you a little plug. So for anyone listening, we've actually had Michelle speak at an event that we had at a wonderful winery. And she's a very out-of-the-box thinker and really looks at things in a different light and brings a lot of awareness. So I highly recommend having a conversation with her.
Oddly enough, I try to make my, my interaction with people an experience.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel.
Yes.
It has to be an experience. When you're working with me, it has to be an experience. That, to me, I think that's what sets me apart.
Yeah,
from others.
I would agree.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So how can people find you on the internet?
Remember when I said take marketing classes? So my website is, so I had to be different because Michelle Bell, you would think that that's a unique name. I know it's been in songs and everybody loves it. And I do have people call me and sing me those songs, both versions, the Slick Rick version and I believe the Beatles version. I have both. So that's how I know what generation is calling me, by which one they sing. And then, so I had to change it because there are other Michelle Bells out there. So it is M as in Michelle, C as in cat, B as in boy, law, P as in Paul, LLC.com is my website. On Facebook, same thing, MC Bell Law Firm. Instagram, I went a little different. So it's A Lasting Legacy Beyond You.
I like it.
And I went a little different on, IG. I don't even remember Twitter. I'm not even gonna lie about that.
Awesome. Well, if anyone wants to have a conversation with Michelle, I promise you, she will keep you laughing. And don't tell her if you like any DC sports.
Oh my gosh. I know. Don't lead off with that. Don't do that.
Yeah, leave that out.
Ease that in the conversation. Don't lead with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a pleasure as always.
Thank you. I have fun too. I was a little nervous, but I had fun too.
You are fine. And I'd also like to thank our music sponsor, Stephen Lamar Moore, who created the music for our podcast. So thank you again, Michelle, and take care.
Thanks. Thank you.